I am a proud owner of the brand new 2024 Kia Sonet. And I'm sharing this not to brag or show off, but I wanted to let you know how I bought this with the money I invested throughout the years. After all, this is an investment channel, and from my investments in stocks and equities, bonds, and cryptocurrency, my gains on these investments essentially let me purchase the Kia Sonet for a discount of over 200,000 pesos or a little over 36% of its standard retail price. How did I do this, and what are the investments that ultimately paid for this new car purchase? This is what we'll look to cover in this video, so stick around and let's find out. Let's go! But before anything, if you are new to this channel, hi, I'm Mark. It's nice to meet you. In this channel, I talk a little bit about lifestyle, but I mostly talk about business and investments. If you happen to click on this video because you are interested in the Kia Sonet, I'm sorry to let you know that this isn't exactly a typical car video that you might come across here on YouTube. But if you would want me to do that, let me know in the comment section. I'll be glad to share with you my experience with the Kia Sonet in these last 2 months. Anyway, let's get on to the main topic. So again, I purchased the brand new Kia Sonet in its LX manual variant, the most basic of all the Kia Sonnets out there. I'm not ashamed about that. I take pride in my practicality. So this entry level of the Kia Sonet is listed at 758,000 pesos. This introductory price is what attracted me most about the Kia Sonet in the first place. And as mentioned earlier, because of the gains that I got from my investments throughout the years, I ultimately just paid 555,850 pesos for this brand new car purchase. So to clarify, I did not get a discount. It's more of how my investments have really paid for this purchase at just 64% of its original listed price. So yes, this was an outright cash purchase. I looked into it, but I just couldn't bring myself to get a loan for a car. For me, a car is not really an investment. I'm sure you've heard this before, that when you drive your car out of the dealership, it automatically goes down by 200,000 pesos. Even if you sell it on the next day or even on the same day, it is essentially a used car already. So I couldn't bring myself to pay for the car in 3, 4, 5 years. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna be liquidating the investments that I've made throughout the years. Not all of it, but just a portion of my portfolio. So this is me really trying to make the most out of the gains that I've made throughout the years and saving on bank interest because I don't want the banks to win. So this is me hopefully making good of my investments. So the first investment that I liquidated would be my investments in bond funds. Specifically, it's the ALFM Peso Bond Fund. I started investing in this fund around 2016, 2017. So more or less, these funds are between 7 to 8 years old. What I liquidated was 251,556 pesos. So this would actually comprise the larger portion of my liquidation. Based on my invested value here, it's around 213,000 pesos, meaning that my investment in this fund had returns of a little over 17%. So this would comprise the first of the investment exits, the withdrawals that I made. If you see here, I actually made 3 different exits. I was, working with the dealership on how much to put as down payment and so on and so forth. So I didn't do it in one go. By the way, since a lot of these investments are dating back to 2016, 2017, and 2018, a lot of these are rough estimates, very, very close estimates. I didn't know that I was gonna make a channel years ago to be able to do this, but more or less, this is representing a close enough value. Moving on to the second investment that I liquidated, this is also another conservative fund that I invested in. This time, it's the ALFM Money Market Fund. From this fund, I withdrew 133,215 pesos. Based on the invested value, it's around 114,564 pesos. So this would be a gain of over 18,000 pesos. Percentage-wise, it's a little over 16%. So the first 2 funds were more on the conservative side. We are moving on to the more aggressive part of my portfolio now. So the third investment on this list would be a UITF. Specifically, it's the BPI European Equity Feeder Fund. I've discussed this in a previous video long ago. Anyway, what I liquidated from this fund is 58,802 pesos. Actually, this fund comes in its dollar denomination, so there are some gains also made from the appreciation of the dollar against the peso in these last 7 to 8 years. The invested value here is 36,840 pesos, meaning that this is a gain of over 60%. In peso value, that's nearly 22,000 pesos. So let's move on to the fourth investment. This time we are going local. The fourth investment is from my ALFM Growth Fund. From this fund, I liquidated over 30,000 pesos. But based on what I invested in 2018, I actually invested over 35,000 pesos in this fund. So this is actually a loss of 5,000 pesos, percentage-wise at negative 14.53%. So why did I do this? Why did I exit this fund even when it was in the negative? Well, I thought it was time. This loss of negative 15% is actually its best performance in a long time now. So I really don't know when the local stocks, the local equities will get any better. So in as much as it's at a loss, I thought that it was time to just exit this position. I've been waiting such a long time for this balance fund, the ALFM Growth Fund, to recover, to at least break even. But for me, I thought that I would rather leave some of my other funds, especially the global funds, and see how they continue to appreciate. So for this one, we actually take a loss, accounted into the total, this loss of over 5,000 pesos. Now, it's not all bad news in terms of my local portfolio. So one of the stocks that I liquidated actually has been in my portfolio liquidated since September last year. It just so happened that I couldn't find the right opportunity, the right stock, or the right investment to move this amount to. So I'm counting this as part of the portfolio that paid for the Kia Sonet. So this would be the stock of Metro Pacific Investments. If you have kept up with the local stock market, you know that the stock headed by Manny Pangilinan exited the Philippine stock market last year. They decided to make the company private. I actually had invested nearly 28,000 pesos in this stock. And when I exited this last year, it was at 46,800 pesos. So this would be a 19,000 peso gain or over 68%. And this would comprise the second highest in terms of the returns. So let's move on to the most interesting part of these investments. This would comprise my highest investment return. These returns are over 250%. So I had invested 43,968 pesos here. And in terms of what I liquidated, it's at 153,888 pesos. Those are returns of nearly 110,000. These returns are probably not possible with other investment tools. So this one would be through crypto, with my investment in Bitcoin. So if you see, it's not like I invested a whole lot in Bitcoin. As mentioned, I was buying a little here and there in 2017, 2018, partly 2019. Bitcoin at its peak during this time was at 1 million pesos per Bitcoin. I did not buy a whole Bitcoin, unfortunately. But yes, I did buy little bits of Bitcoin, little Satoshis. So as mentioned, these are just estimates, and I'm even pegging it at the highest point of Bitcoin at this time, amounting to 1 million pesos. So now Bitcoin is valued at over 3.5 million pesos. So it's giving me at least a 250% return. I know I definitely bought below 1 million in terms of Bitcoin's value then. So this would be a very conservative estimate. So this would comprise the largest return here. Again, Bitcoin at 250% return, giving me nearly 154,000 pesos that I would be spending for the purchase of the Kia Sonet. So lastly, no longer an investment, I used the cash I had on hand. So I used 83,520 pesos for the remainder of what I needed to close out the full purchase of the Kia Sonet. So let's summarize that. For the ALFM Peso Bond Fund, again, I liquidated over 250,000 pesos. For the ALFM Money Market Fund, I liquidated over 133,000 pesos. So if you put the Peso Bond Fund and Money Market Fund, that's over 380,000 pesos. My purchase of the Kia Sonet, half of it is coming from these conservative funds. So that's what I actually had in mind. I would be liquidating 50% of my conservative funds and 50% would be more on the more aggressive side. So moving on to the third, again, this would be the BPI European Equity Feeder Fund, giving me over 58,000 pesos in liquidated value. The fourth would be our laggard here, the ALFM Growth Fund. Again, I liquidated 30,000 pesos from here. Unfortunately, it's at a loss of negative 14%. But again, we'll live with that. We'll lick our wounds and we'll move on. The next would be my stock of Metro Pacific. Again, I liquidated over 46,000 pesos here for returns of nearly 69%. And lastly, Bitcoin giving me 153,888 pesos. And to round it out, again, as mentioned, I put in cash of over 83,000 pesos, comprising the 758,000 pesos that I needed to come up to purchase the Kia Sonet outright. Again, the total of that is 555,000 pesos based on what I actually worked for. So 555,000 pesos is what I've earned through wages, through businesses throughout the years. Putting them in the right positions, the right places, that 555,000 pesos afforded me to buy the Kia Sonet at its listed price of 758,000 pesos. So that's a detailed breakdown of how I invested, liquidated, and purchased the Kia Sonet. What can you pick up here? Well, I guess one thing is that having a portfolio in your mind on how you actually want to balance and rebalance when you need to exit some positions. It's always good to have an ideal portfolio in mind so that when you need to exit your investments, maybe because of an emergency or maybe for a need such as this, it's good to have an overview of your portfolio and to be able to liquidate them in different tranches, in different percentages. I'm also sharing this knowing that part of a good investment strategy is also knowing when you want to exit. The hard part when exiting is being FOMO. Of course, you feel like you're missing out because the market might appreciate further. The market may also go down as it did a few days ago. So part of a good investment strategy is also being able to say when, to know when to exit, and to be happy with that. In the case of the ALFM Growth Fund, it's at a loss. But for me, it's cutting losses, as I said. It's one loss against the backdrop of so many gains from this portfolio. So again, like I said, I can live with that. And lastly, in terms of experimenting, in this case, cryptocurrency, I didn't really know much about it in 2017, 2018. I guess what's good here is that I experimented a little bit. I mean, if you see what I invested in Bitcoin is much smaller than what I invested in the other funds. So I guess that's also something that you may want to consider, when you go into highly volatile, highly speculative instruments. Make sure you are ready to lose it. When you are going into these speculative instruments, you can put in some money that perhaps you can afford to lose. So that's also part of the strategy. And in this case, you see that it definitely got me some great gains. So my Kia Sonet, about a quarter of it is made up of crypto. So that's one way to look at it. Why did I sell my crypto? I think I am also just looking for dips, waiting for more opportunities to come in with Bitcoin. Is there FOMO? Yes, definitely. It may seem ridiculous to me in the future that I liquidated a good portion of my portfolio of Bitcoin to be able to purchase this car. But that's on me and I can live with that. And I will just have to look for opportunities to come into Bitcoin again. So what do you think about this purchase of the Kia Sonet using my investment funds? I think there's no right or wrong answer when it comes to liquidating. I mean, as long as you can live with your gains, live with the losses that you've made, and you'll be fine. So do you want me to review my Kia Sonet? Let me know in the comment section. If you've liked this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thanks again for watching, guys, and happy investing.